Aisha, how you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good, thanks. How are you?
I'm great. I'm great. I'm great. I'm excited for the class today, for the session here. I know it's going to be some great information that we're going to be able to share, and so I'll let you start once we hop right into it. But just so everyone knows, I'm Cedric Chambers, President and CEO of Jump Recruits. Excited to just come to you all today and just talk. We're going to have a conversation. Please share in the chat. Please, let us know if you have any questions as we're going through. We want to make sure that we answer those for you. But look, today is just an opportunity to learn, to grow, to get some understanding around the topic that Aisha will go into, and this, see how we can help you be better, improve, and grow within your current journey.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you for that. I am Aisha Abdulatif. I head up the marketing team here at Jump Recruits, and I am also excited for this topic because I think it is so beneficial in so many different paths and walks of someone's life. The art of problem solving, and not only that, taking it a step further when we look at solution building, because
Hmm.
problem solving truly is solution building. And so I'm excited to just dive right into this, jump right in, and make this a 30-minute power session where we just go through some really good tactics to help people when they are faced with a problem that they feel like they can't see a straight and clear solution from the get-go.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, it's a as you're thinking about problem solving, and it shows up in every area of our life, right? And there is a lot that we can go into when it comes to problem solving. When you look online and folks are googling and they're trying to figure out how to go through and solve these big problems that they have, big or small, to say that is there's a lot of information, right? There's 10 steps to do this, 7 ways to do this, and what we want to do is just simplify that process for you and just give you kind of a 5-step process that you can use to be able to work through any problem that you have, whether personal or professional, right? And so, it's just diving into those topics and really trying to help you figure out when a problem comes up, what is that process that I can implement to be able to go in and solve it. And so, just to kick this thing out, because we got 30 minutes and I know you and Aisha, can talk and we can get into it. But to kind of get into it, right? When we think about problem solving, um, in these steps, right? The first thing that you really want to get to is you want to identify the problem, right? That's the very first thing. I find it very, very often that when people are trying to solve a problem, one of the most critical steps that they miss is, do we really understand what the problem is? And then one way that we can look at this is saying, what is the current state and what is the cause of the current state in which I'm finding myself in? And so when you're going through that process of identifying the problem, how do you identify it is the question, right? And
Right.
so what you're trying to do is get to the root cause, right,
Mhm.
of the problem. And when you're getting to the root cause, how do you get there? I think we've heard this time and time again around asking why and taking ourselves backwards and saying, hey, why did this happen? And then once you figure out why this happened, then why did that happen? Then why did this happen? And then keep asking why so that you can get to the ultimate base level of the root cause to understand, okay, this is the actual problem that I'm dealing with. You'd be surprised.
Oh, yeah.
Many people come into a problem solving situation, and instead of solving the problem, they're actually solving a symptom of the problem. And the thing that they're trying to solve has yet to be addressed. And then they keep asking or thinking or wondering, why does it keep coming up? Why does it keep coming up? It's because we solved the symptom and not the problem. And so you want to understand that root cause by asking why over and over until you get to the base. The next thing is just analyzing what are the different various factors that contribute to that problem, right? Once you realize like this is what it is, what are the factors that's contributing to it? And what are, I would say, understanding the implications of the problem, right?
Right.
And understanding, what from a cause and effect perspective, like if this problem it persists, what is happening or could happen, right? So that one, you can just understand the why you're trying to solve it. You understand what the problem is, and it just helps guide you through the other steps within this process so that you can get to the ultimate goal.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I really like that. Knowing the why, the what, and the how before you
Hmm.
even get started is crucial. And just to add to that, I would say one of my favorite things to do is to write it down.
Hmm.
Just be able to write it down, to just put it into words. And if you're not pen and paper, you can type it out. You can do it, scribble it into any kind of format you want,
Yep.
just to be able to find some way to find the words, to be able to visualize it. I think really, really helps. And like I said, it doesn't have to be pen and paper. You can just type it out almost like an email to yourself to say, okay, this is the problem, because obviously this problem is important enough that it is taking time out of your day for
Hmm.
you to want to assess it, analyze it, and uncover what needs to be the path forward. And like you just said before, you can create a path forward. You just need to know, how did this problem ever even come up? So yeah, write it down. That's, I would feel like, the number one thing that helps me every time moving forward. And then the next step, I guess, because we're going to look at this in 5 steps, right?
Yeah.
We could look at it in 100 steps, but I think 5 steps is the easiest. Like, you look at the art of problem solving, and I'll be like 50 steps, 12 steps. Let's look at 5. Keep it on one hand. And the next step is obviously coming up with options, right?
Hmm.
That would be the next step.
Yeah, it's solutions, right? And I think that, once we identify a problem, we can like get our minds so focused on, all right, time to go and do. Like, let's go fix
Right.
this thing right away. And we can find ourselves back at the same problem, because when you're going in and you're thinking about fixing a problem, the next thing is, once you identify it, is not to actually go in and like fix it and implement it, but it's
Right.
really to understand what are possible ways in which you can get to a solution here. What are some of the possible ways to
Yeah.
fix it?
What are
And
your
if we
options?
what are your options, right? And if you think about this, right, and I always like to think about some of my problems in like a 3-column diagram, and this is the way I was taught, right, in my old corporate days, and how to think through some of the problems is, once we have the current state on the left side, then on the right side we'll have the future state, right? That's, what do we want this to be like? What is the ultimate solution? What does this look like once it's solved? How does it make me feel? What is the ultimate, outcome that I'm ultimately trying to achieve here? It's also element two around visualizing it, right? And what's the
Right.
vision that you have for this problem that you're trying to fix? And it's always easier to understand how to get somewhere when you understand where you're trying to go and what you're trying to get to. And
Yeah.
so the second step in this is, what is the future state, or what are the possible solutions? And this requires a lot of creativity. It requires creative thinking. It requires a willingness to consider alternative perspectives,
Mhm.
right?
Yep.
Perspectives from within your organizations, perspectives from your team, perspectives from your close, confidants, and people that can help you just think through, what are some of the other ways outside of how you're thinking about it
Mhm.
that you can move forward to and trying to figure out a solution here.
Exactly. Yes. Removing and considering cognitive biases, which is pretty
Hmm.
much, what is it that could be potentially holding me back from identifying all of those different solutions or options. And I think too, depending on what the problem is, because we could be talking about this in a professional setting, right?
Yep.
We
Yep.
could be talking about this in a personal setting. And like
Hmm.
the way you just mentioned about talking to the people around you, I think is so important, because ultimately you're going to decide what's the best solution for you.
Yep. Yep.
But to be able to just gather all your options, check in, weigh in with people that you do interact with on a day-to-day basis, weigh in with people that this could have long-term repercussions or impact towards as well, whether it's your team, your manager, like you said, your family. But I think that's super important in this second step is the solution gathering. You have to be
Hmm.
really just be able to really just put aside any type of opinions or differences or anything like that, and just get into that gather mode, and to be able to say, okay, I need to at least have a couple of different potential outcomes or solutions to consider before I can just drive forward.
Yeah, yeah. Look, and there's just multiple ways to get to a problem, to get to a solution,
Yeah.
and you just want to have all of them, right? So that you can pick from the list, right? And I think sometimes that could be a piece of or say a hurdle for some,
Yeah.
not in the many solutions, but asking for help,
Yeah.
right? Asking for help is never easy and for many folks. And so, sometimes it's not a bad thing to go ask for help, to go seek advice, right? To go get mentorship and understanding from other folks, right? Don't make you seem less than. It's
Right.
not an element of, hey, you don't know. I thought you were the expert. You should know this,
Mm.
right? You want to be able to go and get as many solutions as possible to be able to figure out, right? As a leader, myself, and I know other leaders are doing this. Like when you face a big problem, I
Yeah.
go ask Aisha, I go ask, other team members that we have, some of the advisors, right, to say, hey, what are some possible solutions here, right? I don't have to do it on my own, and that's something that is within all of us, right? That we just have to reconcile that you don't have to do it on your own when you're coming up with these solutions.
Yep, exactly. You stole my question. I was about to say, Cedric, who do you go to? Who do you go to when you're looking for solutions or help because you are a leader in a company? And how
Hmm.
does that work? Because I admit I have a difficult time asking others for help. Like
Yep.
I will drag my feet until I finally like hand to the fire. Okay, I really need to, and that's something again on an individual basis to work on. But yeah, you took my question on who do you go to for help. But that's great to hear. Like
Yeah.
go within your team, go have mentors, have advisors. I remember with my last important mentor, she was also a client of mine, and then I think I used the word mentor with her, and she was like, "Oh, I'm your mentor." Yeah, I've been asking you for advice this whole time. You just didn't know that I'm at, and it kind of shifted things when you use certain words like that, like hey, just the way you approach the ask, right? Like, hey, I would really like to get your advice on this, or I respect your opinion. Please weigh in. And just the way I realize just to approach something, you can
Yeah.
have people take that need or that ask a bit more seriously because they realize that this is something important to you and whatever that problem may be. I know we talked about maybe looking through the lens of a specific problem as we look at the
Yeah.
5 steps, because this is so broad. Problem solving is something every every piece of life can impact it.
Yeah, yeah, and let me add something to that. Now that you go into number three,
Yeah.
Aisha, is that the when you're looking at those folks you're going to ask
Yeah.
questions, you're probably going to get some more information too that's a little bit different than what you're expecting. But I would
Mhm.
say this: if you go to people and you start to get some of the same things that you were thinking, it could be one or two things. Hey, this is the right path to go down, or two, you really just need to consider people that are different or thinking differently than you. And one of the things that I try to do when I go and solve problems or ask for help is I
Mhm.
try to go to people I know think differently than me. I need folks who are really on I know that their mind is really out here, right? When it comes to how they're going to think about this solution and how they're going to think about actually solving this problem. And I go to those folks to really try to figure this out, right? Whether, sometimes I might not like the feedback, sometimes I may not like the solution.
Yeah.
But in many cases, um, whether I like it or not, it always leads me or gives me insight to go down the right path and journey. And it informs the ultimate solution that I end up going with. And so make sure that those folks around you think differently. Make sure those people around you
Yeah.
are not the exact same as you, right? Because that's going to be very valuable as you continue to go down journey, your life, your career, and as you're getting on different perspectives. When you have people who don't think down the same track as you, it allows you to really expand your mind and provide you that ability to be able to create different solutions.
Yep. Absolutely. 100%. I really like that. I completely agree. And I think once you have those solutions, I'm going to go back to what I said in point one and say, write it down. Take notes. I am the ultimate note taker because my memory sometimes gets away from me. So write down all those solutions, take some notes. If you need to get some clarity or reference it back. And again, whatever style works for you,
Yep.
just be able to have some sort of record if you really want to take the problem solving process and the solution finding process seriously. I would just say make sure you're taking notes to be able to map out what your journey looks like because After you've identified your problem, after you have gauged different perspectives and gotten all your options, the third step is kind of obvious. You gotta
We
pick
got to say it.
you gotta pick one. I have to say it, of course, but you have to pick a solution, and
Yep.
that can be super difficult, especially for indecisive people that are like, "Do I wanna have Mexican or Italian for dinner?" That's not the one we're talking about, but, it's a basic one that people go through every day, and I'm not saying to write it all down for that. But you have to pick a solution to move forward on. And the first step with picking a solution, you're going to hesitate and you're going to look at your options and you're going to ask yourself, how do I know I'm picking the right option? And that's my question for you, Cedric. How do you know that you're picking the right option?
Spoiler alert, sometimes you don't.
Oh
So
man, you just ruined the ending.
sometimes you don't. Pick up your ducks and run with it. But but no, yeah, I would say this is that the question you're asking yourself is, does this option that you're picking get you to the solution in the cleanest, kind of more direct path, right? The best path, the best based out of your options, right? So
Yes.
when you understand your solutions, you can start to see what it would take to get to this place, right? And we're not gonna get into that part yet, but as you're thinking through that, you want to get to the solution in as few steps as possible. You want to get there in a way that is very clear, repeatable, something that you can easily go in and get done, right? And so when I think about the solutions, it is which ones are complex, which
Right.
ones are simple to go in, or and when I say simple, I don't mean easy, but I mean
Right.
simple, right? To really go in and kind of get done, right? Regardless of how many steps. And
Yeah.
that's the way that I pick solutions, right?
Yeah.
Is can it get me there? Right. And then once I get to that place, I say what's complex, what's simple. And then after I bucket the solutions there,
Mhm.
I pick a solution and I go.
Okay.
Look, I in the moment that'd be the best solution that I can pick, and I
Right.
feel confident in my decision, and I also feel confident that if this doesn't get to the place I want, I'm confident that in the moment I made the right decision. Right,
Right.
this is the best decision that I can make with the information that I have, and I
Right.
think that that is something that is internally that we have to feel comfortable with the solution,
Mhm.
and if we don't feel comfortable, it makes it hard to move forward with it. And so you got to get comfortable with picking that solution and then moving forward. One of my favorite books, right? Um, Think and Grow Rich, right? A Black Choice, right?
Right.
With Dennis Kimbro. But in there, he talks about like how Napoleon Hill was sitting in front of Andrew Carnegie, and he asked him if he wanted to go on this journey. And what he didn't know was Andrew Carnegie had a stopwatch under the table, seeing how long it would take him to make a decision.
Oh,
And one of the things that Napoleon Hill kind of found out afterwards was that, but the thing he took away was those that are slow to make decisions are equally as slow to act them out. And so once I get that complex and simple, I make a decision. Right.
yeah.
I make a decision, I go forward and I act it out, which gets us into step four, which
Mhm.
is the implementation, right, of that decision, right? And so you got the solution, you've chosen it, you this is it, and now you just have to go in and put it into play, right?
Right.
And that is something that when you're thinking about implementing a decision and going through, this is on you,
Yeah.
right? If I'm going in and I say, hey, said, trying to lose some weight, we're trying to live a healthier life, cool. Why
Yeah.
don't I live a healthier life? I'm figuring out the way I eat. And say you sitting in your desk all day and I exercise. I'm not gonna get into my personal life, but y'all understand where I'm going here. And so once I figure it out, I understand my future state. I want to live a healthier life, right? I want to make sure that I'm around for my kids. I want to make sure, right, that I don't have to use my insurance that much, right, to go to the doctor. I want to make sure all these different things, right? What's the outcome? I pick this. I go through my solutions. I understand. Okay, I need to work out. I need to eat better. I need to do X, Y, and Z. I
Yep.
pick them, and now it's time to implement. It's time to me to go in, clean out the pantry. It's time for me to go in and either eat all the Snicker bars right now or throw them away. I'm probably gonna do the first one, just so I can get them out and don't buy anymore. But
Hello?
I love it. Folks like said having a personal moment here. But it's going in, it's on me at that point to go in and implement and execute on the solution. And
Yeah.
that is the main thing I'm trying to get to is once we pick it, let's go in and let's get it done, right? Let's create that plan, the steps that we have to do to go implement the solution. Let's understand, hey, step one, step two, step three, etc.
Yeah.
So that we can go in and begin to put it into play, build the necessary systems around us that we need to be able to use to implement it, and then just go and get it done.
Yep. Yep. That's exactly right. I think this is the step that the most people get stuck on is the
Hmm.
implementation, because you can talk about it, write about it, you know, think about it all day long. Days and weeks can pass by. If you're not taking action, nothing's changing. You're
Hmm.
still faced with the same problem.
Yep.
And the fact that this step in the process of solution finding and analyzing is the step where people get stuck, because it's just what you said. It's just the taking action. It's not going to be easy
Yeah.
sometimes. It's not going to be fun sometimes. But at the end of the day, you know that you have this problem. You've already identified it. You've already talked about it. You've already considered your options. Act on it. You picked your option, the best option for you with the best outcome that you want, and you got to just drive it forward. The implementation is the most critical step for me personally, because I can put together any kind of framework all day long, but it doesn't mean anything if you're not making a change, if you're not
Yeah.
driving forward the results that you want. So implementation, that's step 4.
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and kind of going into, you think that would be the end of the road, right? Like,
Yeah.
I
It's
implement.
done. I'm good.
No, the golden final step in this process is something that maybe people are doing in their own head, because I have a very bad habit. My husband will say this. I'll be like, it's in my head. It's in my head. I already got it. But no, like the evaluation, the
Hmm.
actual like looking back and evaluating after you've implemented it, because you got to implement it first. But then
Hmm.
once you've implemented it and a little bit of time has passed, maybe you have to be able to go back and say, was that the best option for me? Did I achieve the outcome I want? And
Yep.
and not to, maybe this is a bit broad, but I when you look back and you talk to successful people, you talk to mentors, you talk to leaders and companies, they will say, I'm not afraid of picking an option, and I'm not afraid of picking an option and driving that forward. And if it
Yeah.
doesn't work, that's okay, because you know what? I wrote down a bunch of other options. There's never one path forward in
Yep.
anything. Everyone knows that. And that's why problem solving is an art, because when you get to that final step, the final step is evaluating it, because if you need to go back and rework everything, you can go back and rework everything, and that's totally okay. You didn't achieve the results you wanted. You got to go back. You're either going to stay stuck or you're going to figure out a way out of it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's it's kind of a tricky thing too, is that evaluation is something that you set up in the implementation process, and then once you get to step 5, you're actually doing the actual evaluation. So you're you're setting the metrics by which you'll evaluate an implementation stage as you're going through, and then the last step is to evaluate. And one of the, when you think about a good book by Eric Ries is Lean Startup. And then one of the things when you go through it, Lean Startup, you go through, assess, you create MVP, you launch it, all that good jazz. Sorry if I simplified it too much.
You're
Is
problem
that
solving starting a company. Okay.
look, but look, sometimes you gotta look. It applies to these problems too. But one of the things it talks about is pivot and persevere. And
Mhm.
when you're in the evaluation stage, you have to set the right metrics so that you can understand in a particular time frame, should you pivot, move to a different solution and try something different, or should you persevere and continue down this path, knowing that there's probably some things that you haven't done on your side to be able to move it forward, or some things that you could kind of fix right within the current solution to make it a better outcome. And so it is important that you're evaluating, because you need to know what success looks like,
Mhm.
right? You need to know, am I on the right path? And if I'm not, I need to go back and fix this. And sometimes we can not have this evaluation piece and we can go down a path too long, knowing that it's not working, still trying to figure it out, but really not having any metrics to evaluate it. And so that is important as you're thinking about these five steps, right? So we had identify the problem, step one.
Mhm.
We had understand the possible solution, step two. We
Right.
had pick a solution, step three. We had implement the solution, step four. And then we had evaluate the solution, step five. I
Yes.
don't know if you can get any simpler than that,
Yeah.
Aisha.
Yeah. And you made a really good point though in the implementation I didn't think about, and that was setting what you want to evaluate off of. So I just
Mhm.
want to kind of drive that back in because that's something I didn't think about, and maybe a lot of people may not think about is being able to evaluate it. Like, well, how are you measuring this as being successful? How are you measuring getting what you want, getting what you hope for, getting what you visualize? So I thought that was really important in the implementation phase is setting KPIs.
Yeah. Oh, look, she
Key
went with
performance
the
indicator.
business terms. You want the business terms.
Setting some sort of benchmark, setting a milestone, whatever it may be,
Yep.
whether it's a weight loss journey, whether it's a
Yep.
business situation, whether it's a personal situation you're faced with, knowing how you are defining it to be successful, to be positive, and to be satisfied with having found the solution at hand. That is, I think, super important. And then the evaluation piece, like we just said, hey, if you got to go back and try a different solution, that's totally okay too. Um, I think all of the beautiful technology that we enjoy nowadays is because of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Algorithms don't come in the first go run through usually.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Look, I know we're coming to the end here, and look, it's been great. And I would look my closing words now that you kind of take this, Aisha, is that at the end of the day, look, we face a lot of problems in our lives, right? Whether it's business, whether it's personal, professional, however it may be. And what we're ultimately trying to get across is that you need a system in place. You need a process in place in order to move through your problem and get to the end result in a efficient and effective manner.
Right.
And the goal was just to provide you a framework to be able to understand, how can I get through this? Now, there's other elements as far as like how you think,
Right.
making sure that you have confidence in yourself to be able to solve the problem. That's probably even it's like step zero is, do
Get enough
you believe that you can solve the problem?
yeah,
Right. Right. And so that is something that can even stop us before we even get into identifying it. Right. Like, do I
right.
feel like I'm the person? And that's something that I just want to say that when many of the problems are in front of you, in many cases, you are the person, right,
Yeah.
that can solve that problem. Right. I also tell you this is one thing I learned in corporate. One thing that was said is that when we think about like complaining about an issue or issue that we are facing, a lot of times the people who do the most complaining are the actual people who can solve the problem.
Right.
And we want to make sure that you say that, yep, I can make this happen. And as you have that confidence, and if you know that you can do this, then the rest of these steps are just a formality. It's just a process to be able to go through and get it done. And so I just hope that this has helped you in a tremendous way. Go back and listen to it. Please write down the steps, post them right there in front of your computer, your desk, and in your iPad, write them down, take a voice note, be able to have this process in front of you so that as those problems come up, you can quickly start to view and look at the process to then be able to take yourself through the journey to get to the ultimate outcome.
Exactly. 100%. I completely agree. And if you're looking for some extra resources, check out jumprecruits.com / the vault. The vault has tons of different resources and tools surrounding productivity, personal development, everything that may help lead you down the path of solution finding.
Yep.
We also have a really awesome Discord community. We're on LinkedIn and Discord with these master classes just because the Discord community has been really all encompassing and welcoming to
Yep.
anyone and everyone that needs to come forward and come through with with a problem maybe at hand to share it there. So
Yeah.
thank you, Cedric, for supporting.
No, I'm excited. I'm excited for all the success, right? When y'all solve y'all problems, let us know at Jump Recruit so we can see if this process worked for you all. And like Aisha said, Discord, we got the people that can help you with the solutions now. So you come put your problem in there. We got some ideas. I know somebody in the community got ideas, different ways in which they've been able to address this. And so come on in, come and commune and come into the space, right, to where you can feel safe and be able to put anything out there and get some real feedback and support from those from everybody that's inside.